let's talk about the simple steps in order to get the right BIM,
The right BIM. Yep.
or get BIM right.
Of course, we need to define the why, right? Why are we doing BIM in the
What's
first
the
place?
purpose?
What is the purpose? And this will help us set up those major milestones within the project that we can then define with scope.
Yep, each information delivery milestone needs a certain amount of scope, and that's really defining the what, the list of items, and then
how much is required, right? You want to provide whether it's an LOD or the right level of geometry, information. What is it exactly that you need at each milestone? And again, going back to what Clive had mentioned in the Excel table, that you'll see LOD 100, 200, 300. You know, the most efficient
that's not
workflows-
useful.
Yeah, the most successful and efficient workflows that we've seen are only those that actually progress when needed, right? So if you need something in 2D, just get it in 2D, and if it ever needs to be in 3D, then ask for that, because it might have some other better use for coordination. Or as you can see, we're not asking for any kind of asset handover of sinks or plumbing fixtures until the asset handover. So really focus on when you might need those objects and when they need to progress in detail.
And also, you mentioned there on asset handover, what information is important. So what's the geometry, what's the documentation, what's the information for each information delivery milestone, and understand also who is responsible for it, especially when you have a handover.
Right.
So here we've got stairs that were required only in 2D for a structural estimate, and then later it was, so that was the architect that was responsible in 2D, and then later on at a different milestone, the structural engineer was involved for an MEP coordination that was required in 3D, and there might have been some other requirements that were attached to that cell.
Yeah, and the simpler you can keep that, the better off you'll be, especially if you're just getting started with your first BIM project. Just keep it simple. Keep it down to the basic elements, components, systems. Best recommendation I can give.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it simple. Yeah. And then have an optimum delivery sequence.
Right.
We've seen, and the stats are amazing, but a 53% reduction in issues based on being able to sequence the tasks for each one of those information delivery milestones in an order that makes sense for the team so that there's less rework. It's an amazing ability to then not just slice it into bite-sized milestones, but also have a delivery sequence that makes sense so that you put things in place once and you don't end up moving them after you've made the decision.
Yeah, I had a subcontractor for fire protection once. You know, we were in a meeting and we were asking, where's your model? And he said, why am I going to model everything up front when I'm going to end up having to move everything? and you know, I'm waiting for the ducting to come in, all the gravity plumbing lines to come in, and then I'll go ahead and model one time. And
because he's the stuff that's under pressure that can root around other things.
Other than that, I had nothing to really kind of ask him for anything else. I mean, he had a good point, valid point, and I didn't really need his plumbing
deliverables, his systems, yeah.
So it made a good point, and sure enough, he delivered on time still and had it all.
and he did it once.
And he did it once, yeah.
So no rework. So we've looked at why projects fail, what motivates teams, and then some simple steps. There were 5, I think, simple steps to understand how to get the BIM right.
Yeah. Let's say those are the recipes.
That's the recipe. Yeah. Oh, perfect.